Has a critical point been reached for a pole shift? Unusual military movements in the US and Canada while Schumann resonances have gone wild. So, what's going on? From the morning of June 17th, 2023, the entire conspiracy world is in some kind of anxiety, which began with the fact that the North Magnetic Pole reached a critical deviation of 40 degrees, and now the poles can change at any moment. Some say for several years. The host and owner of Maverick Star Reloaded has provided the public with dramatic information about the real position of the North Magnetic Pole. Being somewhat obsessed with the idea of a pole shift, this person used his savings to build a magnetometer station on his ranch based on early 20th century models, which was not very expensive and did not require any satellites and other fabulous equipment. The main topic of his channel is the migration of the North Magnetic Pole, which according to calculations will have to deviate from its position in the last century by 40 degrees, after which there will be an abrupt change in the planet's polarity. And according to initial calculations, the pole was supposed to pass the 40-degree mark in April 2023, but it slowed down slightly in the winter of 2023, and according to the new estimates should have reached the desired point by mid-June. The North Magnetic Pole deviated from its position at the beginning of the last century by 40 degrees, which many geophysicists consider a critical point, which, upon reaching, a change of poles can happen at any time. Then it suddenly turned out that at the same time at the geographic South Pole, above the U.S. polar station, a green laser beam appeared in the sky and large numbers of military armored cars drove across America and Canada. This laser beam looked more like some great scientific experiment for which there was even mention in the press. The appearance of a laser at the South Pole was completely unexpected, and the installation of equipment was carried out in great secrecy. Conspiracy theorists trained by something else. Why did the lidar, the light detection and arranging, begin its work day after day with the North Magnetic Pole reaching its critical position? Moreover, the installation of the lidar at the station began just at the moment when it became more or less clear that the North Magnetic Pole would reach a critical point, and it looks like U.S. geophysicists are monitoring the beginning of what could be a pole shift. The atmosphere and its upper layers, which are in contact with the solar wind, will be the first to react to the anomaly of magnetic activity in the core of the planet. If something changes sharply in the core, the compass may not immediately see it, but the Earth's magnetic shield will drop sharply. Many charged particles will appear in the upper layers of the atmosphere, and the lidar will not only notice them but also carefully calculate them, giving out any forecasts. Thus, U.S. geophysicists will be able to give their government time to maneuver. And another version of the inclusion of this lidar is based purely on what could be Planet X Nibiru. So the new complex of the Amundsen-Scott South Pole Station was opened in January 2008. Despite the fact that Antarctica is not in Florida, there's nothing to detect there, and there are quite enough old stations, but for some reason they built a hefty new one, bringing in a 10-meter radio telescope. A remotely controlled infrared one was also placed in a nearby ridge. The first images of Nibiru circling the net in 2009 were supposedly filmed there. Now, therefore, this lidar and Nibiru may be somehow connected. Scientists monitor either its approach or impact on the atmosphere of the Nibiru shell, which surrounds the planet like a cloud and consists presumably of gold particles, the extraction of which involved the Anunnaki in prehistoric times, as legends say. Now, there's the unusual military movement in US and Canada. One of the indirect signs of the approach of certain alarming global events could be massive movements by military of serious countries of forces and means. Usually everyone follows the movements of the US and in China, from where information is always extremely limited, but it still breaks through if there are a lot of troops. And now this vigilant American locals report, armored vehicles drove along the local railways. And since February 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine, the movement of armed cars on U.S. railways has always been a good prognostic sign, but there is definitely something different here, since a lot of iron is seen in cities and it goes under its own power. Since the U.S. and Europe are now conducting drills, military drills, one would assume that this is all somehow connected with them. However, the same thing happens in Canada, although Canada does not take part in these drills. Why such a deployment? Even the Pentagon may not know for sure. There's a theory that this is preparation for a pole shift or something other type of a cataclysm. There's also a version of preparations for global conflict. However, in any case, given how much money the military spends on maneuvers, something is definitely coming that is worth this. Well, the thing is, we know that every June they do have drills. That it happens every June. Now, concerning the Schumann residences, have they gone wild? And now the evening of June 18, it turns out that some strange things are also happening with the Schumann residences. The graphical display of the Schumann waves show no data for June 17 and 18 for some unknown reason. That is, either an incredible breakdown of two sources happened at once, or something with resonances that NASA decided not to show to countries and people. And also GCP.com quite accurately analyzes the mental field tension of the planet, showing people are really uneasy, anxious, which usually happens as a foretaste of some global events. And finally, there is such a moment as the Great Planetary Alignment, which began June 17. We have Saturn, Neptune, Jupiter, Mercury, and Uranus lined up. And here we see them, Mercury, Uranus, Jupiter, Neptune, and Saturn. In the light of the above, we do not think that there is some kind of instrumental failure with Schumann resonances. Something global is either already happening or is about to happen, some people claim. And this is on Solask. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.